So you'll start with your introduction for 2 minutes.
Okay. Hi everyone. As previously mentioned, my name is Courtney Westfall and I'm running for City Council District 7 against Nelson Esparza.
The PA system's not working.
Oh, is it working out? What am I just okay. So yeah, I'm running for City Council District 7 and I'm super excited about it. I come from a hardworking family and I had hardworking values instilled into me at a young age, and it's kind of that attitude that pushed me into politics. I can see and I can recognize that there's a lot of wrong going on in the political arena right now, and I'm the kind of person that wants to get up and I want to do it the right way. I have a heart of gold. I really truly love this city. I've been working in this city for years, raising up the youth, teaching them how to read, feeding families, and I've built a close relationship with the community members that I wish to represent, and they are ready for something new. You know, I want to bring honesty and integrity to a generation that just seems like they've lost hope. And I want to instill that hope back into them again, that there can be leadership in government that actually has their best interest at heart. The corruption that's going on isn't good. And I'm barely scratching the surface of all of it. But I'm sure everybody in this room, you know, we're a tenacious group to want to take on the beast that is California right now. So I'm honored to be here, and I applaud every one of you. So thanks for having me, and yeah, let's get into the questions. What's that?
Perfect, thank you. So first question, did you vote to recall Governor Gavin Newsom?
I did, yes.
And then the next question, do you support City of Fresno's purchase of the Tower Theater? Why or why not?
So I know that there is a lot of different angles to this situation. I'm actually personally friends with the owner of the Tower Theater, and I'm also acquainted with the pastor that runs Adventure Church. With that being said, because there's a lot of, again, angles legally and also socially, right? But I just think it was a bad policy decision to use that much money of tax dollars to go into a private purchase agreement. I don't agree that it was even constitutional for them to do that. It's a private purchase agreement. I think that should be honored. And yeah. There's better things that we could be doing with that money, or we're just not spending it at all. So.
Thank you. And regarding the money, when you're on the Fresno City Council, what are some of your ideas to deal with homelessness in the city of Fresno?
Great question, and there has been a certain narrative. It's kind of like, you know, parrots, they're saying the same thing over and over and over again, and what they're doing is not working. So we need to do something different. The big question is, well, what do we do different? I think there needs to be accountability. I have a heart for the lost and I have a heart for the weak. To me, it's important that the people that are willing to receive help get the help that they need. And I think that we should provide that for them. But I also think there's a large portion of people that don't want help and that they shouldn't be destroying our city while they're getting well. And there needs to be a certain level of accountability and respect for fellow man, people with families. But my heart does go out to them, and I would really like to see neighborhood watch programs. As I'm knocking on doors and talking to a lot of the community members, they're good people, most of them, okay? Most of them are good people, and they have a heart for this city too. And I think that somebody needs to organize something to where they could have a communication network to be communicating amongst each other, meeting, maybe every 3 weeks, maybe bi-weekly, maybe monthly, and really look out for each other. And I think that would instill more unity in our community as well.
Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you, Courtney. Next, we have a candidate for governor, and that's Leo Zaki. Leo, what's make your way up here? And Leo, that name probably you can recognize that. That is part of the Zaki Farms, and so Leo is going to tell us about his background, and excited to hear it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So yes, my background is Zaki Farms. My family started it back in 1928, and my grandfather and grandmother incorporated in 55 and created what became Zaki Farms, the largest privately owned employer in the state of California, the largest poultry producer on the West Coast. We got decimated by California's poor regulatory policies, high cost of minimum wage, the business taxes, environmental regulations, utility costs, you name it. It just priced us out of competition where it was cheaper to produce on the other side of the country and freight it into California. So unfortunately, we just got decimated and we had to put over 1,000 folks out of jobs when we closed in January of 2019. While I was working for my family, I started at the bottom, and the entire time I was also a board member of the California Poultry Federation, so I was a lobbyist on behalf of the industry. So I'd go to DC and Sacramento several times a year, and I would meet with our congressmen, senators, state reps, state senators, USDA, FDA, and I quickly discovered that they're all horrible people that don't care about you and are not very smart. It was disheartening to see that firsthand, and the corruption, it's real, it exists, and that was one of the big motivators for me to actually step up and do this. And between losing our business, seeing the corruption firsthand, and then also just watching this ridiculous charade of whatever you would call this, an election. It was a farce in 2020. That's what pushed me over the edge, and here I am. I'm standing up for everybody here in California. I bring with me common sense solutions to the drought, homelessness, wildfires, crime, corruption, and education. And I have actual practical solutions that I can go into immense detail with for all of you and how to solve those issues. So we got some questions. I know I have a lot more I could say, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Don't hesitate. The number on that business card goes to my phone. I do answer it. I get calls every day from folks who have read my candidate statement, and I encourage you to reach out while I'm here and ask me anything you like. So how many questions you got?
See how many you can answer in 3 minutes.
Let's go. Rapid fire. Let's go.
Actually, it's 2 minutes. So, Leo, do you support voter ID?
Yes.
Going.
That was easy. That's a no-brainer right
All right. What's your position on hydro and nuclear power?
We need them. We're going to do it. And I'm going to make sure we do it.
And then, what's your position on crime, specifically prison reduction and any type of laws or legislation you would try to push?
Well, we have to get rid of this whole license to steal crap that they have. They can take $950 worth of stuff, and then it's a misdemeanor, but then the police can't enforce the misdemeanors. We have to allow our police to actually enforce the law. We have to take that and make that gone because it's ridiculous. What other ridiculous laws do we have?
So the next question that kind of leads into this is homelessness.
So I do have an in-depth solution for that. I call it the Homeless to Home program. We're going to provide facilities for them outside of the cities. Essentially take a page out of Sheriff Joe Arpaio's book. We'll build tents because if it's good enough for prisoners, it's definitely good enough for them. And it's cheap. We can do it quickly. We have to identify the problem is actually a mental health crisis compounded with a drug addiction exacerbated by a failing education system here in California. So we're gonna treat their mental illness, we're gonna treat their drug addiction, and we're gonna give them the ability to learn a job skill, whether it's in construction, agriculture, sanitation, or basic firefighting. And there's other things I probably haven't thought of. And if you have a great suggestion, please, I'd love to hear it. But we're gonna have them do that. They'll be on-the-job training. They'll earn money. They'll put money in their pocket. When they complete the program, they'll have money in their pocket. They'll have a job skill, and they'll be eligible for government-assisted housing. And then any company who hires them coming out of this program will get a tax incentive for doing so. Next.
What's your position on the gas tax?
If you're not going to use it for what it's intended to do, get rid of it.
And then, do you support high-speed rail?
No.
Did you vote to recall Governor
Yes.
What is some of the legislation or policies you would want to push regarding to agriculture?
Well, we have to have water. If we don't have water, it's the foundation. If we don't have water for our farmers, we don't have what makes us the world's 5th largest economy. We don't have a robust agriculture industry. And if we can have a strong, robust agriculture industry, we will have a strong economy. You have a strong economy, you're going to have less crime. All these things go hand in hand. It starts with water.
What's your position on desalinization?
Yes, we need to do it full force. A part of my solution for water here in California is we have to build reservoirs everywhere, but also at the high altitudes, capturing and harnessing snowpack, which we're not currently doing. It's a lost opportunity. We have to upgrade and clean out all the silt that's built up in the existing reservoirs, and then we also have to go full force into desalinization. Anything you do on a large enough scale brings down the cost per unit, backgrounds in manufacturing as well. So my long-term vision of California is to make us a water exporter where we sell it to Arizona, Nevada, and even Mexico for profit, bringing an additional revenue stream to the state that's not from your tax-paying dollars. I've also talked to people who are running for governor in other states like Nevada and Arizona, who I've spoken with as I host a radio show, and they asked, and I asked them, would you help California pay for a water project if we were going to sell you water? They said yes. So there's other ways to pay for it, and I've already figured it out. So.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you.
There you go.
Here.
There you go.
Okay, we go from governor to city council again, and Nicholas Wildstar, why don't you make your way forward? Nicholas
Wildstar.
is running against somebody named, Arias.
Boo. Wildstar.
Thank you for stepping up to the plate.
Amen.
Thank you, Liberty Lovers, do it today. All right. I can't prepare the speech if that's okay. Are you ready to go toe-to-toe with Tigers for freedom? Yeah. All right. Are you ready to dig in your heels and fight it out to live free? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So am I. And that's why I'm running against Miguel Arias for city council. All right. My name is Nicholas Wildstar, and I'm well known for being loud and proud about our God-given right as Americans to live free. Most recently, I've been an announcer and organizer of recall-less or protests and reopened California rallies from Fresno to Sacramento, all the way down to Newport Beach and back. But for over the past decade, I've been a thorn in the government side at any given opportunity to remind them that they work for we the people. Hardworking men and women who put their all into building this country each and every day to make it the great nation that it is.
Amen.
We the people deserve the best and should not have to settle for less when it comes to what our tax dollars are paying for.
Hoorah.
And we pay the salaries of every public employee, including the ones like Miguel Arias, who continue to collect their paycheck during a global pandemic while using their position that we the people gave them to shut down businesses and keep others from being able to earn a living for themselves. Does he deserve another dime of our tax dollars?
No.
And that's why I'm asking you for your help in making sure that he loses his job on June 7th.
Amen. Amen.
Now, I
Not
know I
God's
may not be the
ears.
first choice for many of you, but when it comes to who's running against him, I'm the best chance you have in restoring some sanity, decency, and common sense to City Council for District 3. When it comes to fiscal responsibility, I'm the only candidate for District 3 that promotes reduction in government spending, elimination of overtaxation, increased salaries for law enforcers, and free market solutions to keep government from growing even bigger than it already is. And I'm the only candidate that has plans to have Fresno declared a constitutional republic immediately upon taking office, so that we the people will never have to worry about having unconstitutional mandates forced on us ever again.
Amen.
Sure.
Thank you, Nicholas. So, first question, do you support the city of Fresno's purchase of Tower Theater?
Yes, I do. actually, as the woman, your name, but city council point candidate, yes, as she said, to me, I agree. It's about property rights. Let's change the context. If it was a black owner that wanted to purchase that property and there were protests against that purchase, or a cannabis business that wanted to purchase it, just a different type of business that wanted to again purchase that property, it would be prejudice for our city to come along and purchase that property and take it away when, again, they have the legal right, just like anyone else, to buy that property. So I haven't ever went out there against those and participated in those protests. I've heard about them before, but I haven't went down there to see what it's all about. But I actually did an interview on the Constitutionalist with Mr. Eric Rollins, and spoke on this issue and spoke about my support as well. So if you visit my website, crowdpac.com, crowdpac.com/c/GoWildFresno, it has links to all of those interviews. So.
Next question, when elected, what are some of the policies you want to implement to deal with homelessness in the city of Fresno?
Yeah, he answered that.
Well, you meant to say you support the church purchasing.
Yeah, because that question got backwards because what he said versus what you said versus what you said on the Constitutionalist. Yeah, he supports the church's purchase, not the city's purchase. Yeah, he said city. You thought he said church.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, me too, because I noticed, bro.
When they had a concert, there was a local rapper, I believe.
Trejo Bryant.
Yeah, Brian Trejo, he was having a concert there. But I went there to, again, express my support to Mr. Flores himself. I wish I could schedule a news conference of some sort to where the media would actually pay attention. But I need for you guys to spread that word for me, because right now, word of mouth is really all I have. Thank you.
So the next question was regarding homelessness.
Yes. So
What type of policies?
You said money or policy?
Just policies.
Well, and that includes money too. Well, right now, the city is actually spending up to $100,000 on renovating hotel rooms to place the homeless in. My proposal is to actually build a manufacturing facility where we can create 3D printed homes. This technology is being used right now in Rancho Mirage to create commercial properties, but 3D printed homes can be built in less than 24 hours. They use recycled materials, and they're self-sustainable. They have their own water and power, and they're portable. So if we can look at some of these infill empty lots around cities and around the city and place them there, then that would give our unhoused population a roof over their head. I actually was just reading a report earlier today, and it said over 60% of our nation's unhoused population are military veterans. Okay? So when we talk about making sure that our unhoused population are taken care of, these are people that put their lives on the line for this country, and they deserve the support, all the support they can get. So it also starts with preventative measures. I want to make sure affordable housing is also supplied to the community. That way they won't have to be evicted from their homes and end up on the streets.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Okay, next, we have somebody running for a state superintendent of public instruction, almost said education. State superintendent of public instruction, George Yang, from all the way from LA, and he just spoke in Tulare County, I think, Republican Party. So thank you for coming all the way to Fresno.
Hey, George.
Hello, everybody. I actually come from Randall Park up north, right next to Facebook headquarters. I don't work for them, by the way. I come from China 30 years ago. So 30 years ago, my mother took me to this country. And for the first 6 years, we lived in 6 different houses. The worst one is on top of one room on top of a Chinese restaurant. But at a very young age of 51, my mother passed the Microsoft Certified Engineering exam and got a job in an American manufacturing factory. And that's how we buy our first house in San Bruno. And that's how gradually I make myself here. I got my American dream, and that's why education is important. What I have learned lately is that we are being very much like China. The left is saying the same 3 lies that I have learned in China. Number one, America is bad. That's why they have CRT. That's why they cherry pick stories to make America look bad and make kids hate this country. The second lie that they are saying is capitalism is broken. So that's why you have kids saying that I'm poor, I have no chance. There's no way I can make it. That's wrong. I can make it. I have friends who come from Vietnam with a shirt on his back and now owns 5 bakeries in the Bay Area. You can do it if you have that work ethic. The last lie that the left has been telling is that all solutions come from central government. That's why 70% of the kids in this state are depressed because we're not doing enough for climate change. Demand more action means giving more power to the bureaucrats. And we know how this works during the last 2 years of COVID. We need to change the dynamic and let kids be proud of America, to see opportunities and not oppression, and understand that they can be the change they want to see in their local communities. I want them to be optimistic. I want them to be patriotic. I want them to be appreciative of all the opportunity this country has to offer. I think the time is up. Let's go to the questions.
Regarding to CRT, what is your view regarding parental rights and parental involvement in their local schools? And what can you do policy-wise?
Yes, I have a very good idea to take down CRT totally. Now, I have 2 kids. It's not easy to tell them to stop doing something. It's easier to say do something better. So what my proposal is, I'm going to take the funding. I know it's working. Now it's working. I'm going to take CRT funding, take the money that they use to do sex reassignment surgeries in our schools. We take that money and fund an after-school program. That's school choice in action. It's $300 that you can take it to a church, run something like this, reading class, singing class, or a local business can say a bakery can run a baking class for after-school programs. And you know what? When I do this, I'm going to dare Gavin Newsom to stop me. I will tell him, go tell that kid in Oakland that he cannot pay for that after-school program because he wants CRT. And that's how I'm going to take every penny for CRT away.
What type of policies do you think would help remove disruption in the schools, specifically in the schoolrooms, dealing with delinquents or people who are causing problems and yet are coming back in the classroom?
One of the things that I've seen, especially for boys, is that if they get bored, they act up, they cause problems. So my after-school program, and going back to that a little bit, is that I want every kid to find something he's passionate about. Like my son, I want him to find something, say engineering or 4-H programs, that he look at and say, I like it, I want to do this. Now, this is one of the things how I learn English, is that I find a subject, in this case, history, that I really love and I read a lot about it. So when a kid can find something that he's passionate about, he will have a much better attitude at school and that's more willing to learn.
Thank you. What type of policy changes do you think would help students? There's a lot of talk about students going to college, but there are also other jobs such as blue-collar jobs. Are there anything that you think, things that you can do pushing policy-wise to help schools promote jobs that don't require college education?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the great examples is Germany. They have a very good trades program. They create craftsmen. So in Germany, there are a number of industries that they say ball bearing, something very small that they do really well, and the kids who goes to those jobs become a center, a pillar of community because those industries can stay in those little towns. So what we need to do in many little towns in California is to have those trades programs so that the kids can become a part of the trades that already exist in those communities and become good at it and again become pillars of community later on their own.
Thank you, George. You have just a little bit to say. One last thing.
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, you want to say
Yang. I'm the Yang of the yin and yang, so over Yang was superintendent of public instruction.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our next candidate is running for city council. And that is the Soria seat, which now is Annalisa Perea and Mr. Catalano, Mike Briggs, and Jeremy Priest. So Jeremy, come on up. Jeremy is a retired Fresno police officer and also has his own business.
Thanks for having me here. So I came in late. I coached baseball as well in high school. We had a game that night. So part of the reason, Nicholas, I think you and I are running because we're just the average guy who decided to run. When you get tired of looking at our little swamp we have and all the collusion and undercutting and privacy that goes on, that's not the lack of integrity, these all come back.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where we have a declining city right now and no one wants to do anything about it. During COVID, no one wanted to stand up and keep their businesses open if they can. They got in trouble. Nobody wanted to stand up on the city council or the mayor's office. Nobody. Everyone cowered down in the council. It worked for us.
Cowards.
I worked for you for 15 years. I know how to do it. I was in a fishbowl for 15 years. It's the toughest job you can do. I was judged. I was scrutinized. I was Monday morning quarterback. There's nothing that this city has that I can't take. We need to clean it up. And we need to clean it up, and it's going to take time. It's not going to be quick. We all know we put on those pounds, right? How fast they come off. Right? It takes a long time. It's not a 4-year fix. It's probably about 8 to 10-year fix. Yeah, we have to know that. But we let it get that way. Now it's my turn, Nicholas's turn. Step up and make a change. I remember it's my kid's name. So we need to get together. And the big thing about us is we need to stay together, right? And there's 4 of us running. One other Republican ran before in the 90s. We still have the same problems we had in the 90s. We're still flared up. We can't throw money at solutions. There's no solutions. You know, my thing is you teach from the ground up. You teach parents how to be parents to raise their kids the right way. You teach them how to save the $5 bill instead of go out and spend it on some junk. And you let them, you change the culture, exactly. You change it from the ground up. That's why it's going to take so long. You get mentors, you get these schools. We have some of the best industry school teachings in the valley here.
Thank you, Jeremy. So just bouncing off what you said, what are some of the policies you enact as a city council member regarding homelessness?
It's a great question. Kind of piggybacking off what Nicholas said, instead of finding somewhere in the city, we all know someone who's had an addiction problem, right? And addiction is not something that you can just fix in a snap of a finger. 1, they have to be willing. 2, there needs to be a program. I've had people addicted to whatever, and they had to go to places like Belize, places away from the addiction to cure themselves. We take a solution like this for housing, and we go in the county area where we're 10 miles out of town, where dealers can't ride their bicycles, and we create an establishment out there, fence it in, we give them counseling services, we give them educational services, we give them an address so they can get a job, but they have to be clean to be out there, right? You can't get out of addiction because temptation's right around the corner. We can't put it at Fresno Shaw, it doesn't work. We can't put it at a hotel because it doesn't work. Can't be on Broadway Drive. No, you have to make an effort to start from the ground up and build something, okay? So we get that done, and then you have to be clean, just like at the Poverello. Poverello's a little broken the way they do it because they're in a bad spot. So you have to be clean, you get the education, you get the therapy you need, you get the counseling you need, you get the training you need, and then in 4 or 5 months' time, you get back on your feet and we get you in a housing situation. That's a whole other deal as well.
All right. Do you support the city of Fresno's purchase of the Tower Theater? So they voted to purchase it. Do you
I
support
don't
that?
support the city of Fresno's purchase. I think the city should have got involved 2 years ago and got this thing taken care of. And the city has no backbone. Anthony and I have talked, and we talked way back in just after 2020. I couldn't believe what has happened since then. You know, the city puts their foot in their mouth. Name one building the city owns that is well taken care of. Nothing. Memorial Theater, garbage. They can't even keep a baseball team here in a top-of-the-line stadium, right? So everything, Granite Park, mess. Everything is a mess. It's embarrassing. So we need to get people like Miguel out. get people like, well,
Amen.
This one's turning out, so we can't let the Perea daughter get in. So if you tell your friends, family, everyone to vote, tell them to vote the right way. I'm just a guy who's tired of the crap and wants to make a difference. And this is how I dress. This is me. I'm sorry. I don't wear.
Hey,
I don't wear suits, I don't wear a lot
I
of
got
stuff.
Amen.
But this is who I am. I'm the guy who's sitting on the couch going, damn it, I'm gonna do something different.
Amen.
All right.
About less than 30 seconds. So one thing you'd like to say to everybody.
Spread the word, please. Time to vote now. Push it out there. My website, jpforcitycouncil.com. Tell your friends. Post it on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. Send it out. Send it out. Send it out. Don't vote.
Okay, our next speaker candidate is Sean Collins. He's running for governor of California. He's a Navy combat veteran in the Middle East, and he's a
Sean
lieutenant
Collins.
commander of the Navy Judge Advocate General JAG Corps Reserves, and he does pro bono legal work assisting Vietnam veterans.
And unlike Major Williams, who's actually in the military.
Thank you for having me here at your Central Committee meeting. So as Fred pointed out, my name is Sean Collins. I am a candidate for governor of California. I live down in Orange County, California, where my wife and I, Zaina, is my wife. We're raising our 4 beautiful children, ages 9, 7, 4, and 2. I am a United States Navy veteran. I'm also an Afghanistan combat veteran. I still serve in the United States Navy Reserves. I drill down in San Diego at 32nd Street, Point Loma, Coronado, wherever the Navy needs me. And I always lead with that. My military service is something I'm very proud of. I come from a family I come from a long line of military service. My grandfather was a World War II veteran. My father was a Vietnam era veteran, field artillery officer. My older brother's a surface warfare officer in the United States Navy. And then I chose to serve in the United States Navy JAG Corps. And I'm very proud of that because when I look at the history of the United States, I can point to every single time the United States has needed my family, we stepped up and served. And so I view me stepping forward right now to run for governor as an extension of my service, except it's a service to my state. I don't need to tell everybody in this room that this state is in very bad shape right now. And what keeps me awake at night is that I don't know if there's going to be opportunities for my 4 young children. They're ages 9, 7, 4, and 2 right now. And a lot of my colleagues, my peers down in Orange County right now, their children are graduating from high school right now. They're graduating from college right now. And they're taking jobs in Austin. They're taking jobs in Dallas. They're taking jobs in Nevada, Arizona. I know everybody in this room knows a similar story like that. We're losing a generation of talent right now. And when we lose our young people, we lose the state for good. Because if they leave, the odds of them coming back are slim to none. Now, my message as the candidate for governor of California, everybody says, well, why do you want to run for governor of California? Did you see what happened in the recall? Yes, I did see what happened in the recall, but I pay attention to 2 very important data points from the recall. One, as much as the Republican or the Democrats tried to label that the Republican recall, there were not enough registered Republicans in this state to get the signatures required to have that recall happen. There were a large number of Democrats that voted to recall Gavin Newsom. There were a large number of independents that voted to recall Gavin Newsom. And when you look at the data and you say, of the people, of the Democrats and the independents that voted to recall him, what was their answer to the second one? The number one response was they left it blank. Now, most people say, well, why would they leave it blank? I don't really care why they left it blank. What that signals to me is that they thought anybody, any one of those 46 candidates was better than Gavin Newsom. We have an opportunity right now in this state. Every single Republican candidate in this room I'm talking to, we have Democrats and independents that are desperate for solutions to fix these very big problems we have in this state.
Amen.
We have to offer up conservative Republican solutions that can fix them.
Thank you, Sean.
Big opportunity.
Thank you. First question, do you support high-speed rail?
Absolutely not. I was just touring a farm recently. I was with a farmer in Bakersfield. I was touring the farm and I was looking at the high-speed rail. It's an absolute waste of government money. And every single citizen of California, I don't care what your political affiliation is, you should be pissed off. And here's the biggest problem with high-speed rail. By the time it's actually finished, it's going to be outdated technology.
It is outdated. Already is. Only 120 mile an hour train.
From having autonomous vehicles. They're talking
Stupid.
about having robo-taxis flying in the sky 5 to 10 years from now. Nobody will need high-speed rail by the time they actually build it.
And it's not even a high speed rail.
what type of policies as governor would you implement to deal with homelessness in the state of California?
So the first thing you have to do is you have to scrap the housing first policy. The number one question everybody asks is, how have we spent over $13 billion over the past 5 years, but the problem has gotten worse? The problem is getting worse because there is a focus on housing. There is this mindset that if I provide a house for all of the homeless people in the state, which is over 160,000 right now, I have solved the problem. But as a lot of my colleagues have already pointed out, you can't solve that problem unless you address the root causes of it. And the root causes of it are drug addiction and mental illness. I have 4 family members that were wiped out by the crack pandemic. My uncle is currently still homeless on Skid Row. For my entire life, my family has offered him housing, but our housing has conditions. You will have a job. You will not use drugs in our home. You will be home at a timely manner, and you will not steal from us to support your drug addiction. He does not want those strings attached. So how you fix it in this state, you create accountability back into the system. But you can do that with compassion. But if you're not willing to acknowledge that you have a problem and accept the help that we're offering you, there has to be an alternative. Because allowing people to live on the streets in their own fecal matter with sores all over their legs, that's not compassion.
Thank you. Do you support hydro and nuclear power in the state of California?
100%. You're talking to a United States Navy veteran. I spent lots of time on DDGs, carriers that are nuclear powered. I slept on a nuclear reactor, like John McCain used to remind everybody they're safe.
Do you support voter ID and going back to the one day of voting or the Voter Choice Act, which allows ballot harvesting, ballots to be counted after the election?
So 100% I support voter ID, and I want to make a point here. Also, all the other Republican candidates in here make this point. I'm a black man, okay? I am incredibly insulted when Democrats say it's racist to require somebody to have an ID to vote.
Amen.
I show my ID 3 times to get into the airport, but you're saying the most fundamental thing to our democracy, you don't need an ID for that, okay? When I was 15, I grew up in a low-income African-American neighborhood, okay? My dad said, hey son, you need an ID because you got to take the bus to school. Yep. I walked down to the DMV and got an ID. When a Democrat tells me it's racist to insinuate that a black or a brown person has to go get an ID, no, the fact that you don't think I'm intelligent enough to go get my own ID, that's racist. That's right.
Thank you very much, Sean.
Okay, our last candidate is from the town of Kalinga and former mayor of Kalinga. And I want to say that Nathan Fosberg here, he's been a big supporter of our county party for many years. And he was also city council Kalinga. And thank you for driving all the way across the county. Nathan.
All right. So, as Fred pointed out, I am absolutely a huge supporter. In fact, I was going to wear my Let's Go Brandon shirt today. Especially when I went to fill up gas to get here. It was quite the ordeal. So I did write something down. As he told you, I'm former mayor of Kalinga. Today I'm here to share with you why I'm the best candidate for District 3. Now, most people might not even know where Kalinga is. Yeah, we're on the I-5, halfway between San Francisco and LA. What we do have is we have oil and we have farms surrounding us. If we want to talk about the battleground for independence and food energy, it is right there. Era, Chevron, I don't know if anyone knows Standard Oil right there in Kalinga. You know, we're big about that. We have lots of jobs, lots of opportunities that have been lost because of policies in our government. Right now, I'm the current IT analyst for the library. I'm the vice president, Chamber of Commerce. I'm a business owner. I'm married to my lovely wife for a very long time. I have 3 beautiful kids, 2 boys, 1 girl who I just had, and let me tell you, girls change your life.
Amen.
Especially at this age, it's a deal. Talk about some of my previous experience on council and why would I want to do this again, because that's important. Well, Kalinga was in a massive debt hole when they lost Claremont Custody Center. We were $4.1 million in debt, and we had $1 million in bleeding, and that was quite the deal. So that was my motivation to get involved the very first time. So now we have almost a $4 million surplus, which in reserves. A lot from the policies that we created, a lot from the measures that we created. So since then, they've been passing balanced budgets. So here's the problems. We have public safety problems. We have infrastructure problems. All of this stuff, unfortunately, is created by our very liberal policies in Sacramento. Prop 47, 57, AB 109, that little trifecta, they've let people out of prison. And unfortunately, little towns like Coalinga have suffered massively. We don't have all the resources they have in Fresno. And so, my goal is to fix these type of things with technology and to provide opportunity.
Thank you. So what are some of your policies regarding homelessness? I'm sure they have them in your area as well.
Absolutely. So one thing, and this is going to sound really kind of blunt, but people need to be held responsible, not for being homeless, but for the crimes they commit when they are homeless. We need to stop letting people out of jail. Literally, we are not taking people to jail because by the time our officers are home, they are let out. That needs to change. Now, what can I do at a local level to stop those things? Influence. We can yell, we can scream. I've called the Fresno DA, I've called the bail bonds people, the board of supervisors, everyone trying to get them to jump up and say, hey, what are we going to do on these issues? But the real deal is we need to provide opportunity. We need to get into the areas where these people exist at. We need to find out what it is can we do to help you. But at the same time, if you're on the street and you're dealing drugs, you're on the street and you're just a drug user, we're going to hold you responsible for the things that you did. So a lot of these people that are on the street, unfortunately, there were people that Gavin Newsom let out of prison. I don't know if anyone knows that, but a lot of these folks are people that were just let out of prison. So it's a tough deal to deal with the homeless crisis. In Coalinga, luckily, most of those people do have the ability to get help. And unfortunately, all the money that comes from the state goes to the county level, and Fresno tells cities like Coalinga to ship their people to Fresno to get help, and that's a really unfortunate thing.
Yes, it is.
So regarding about shipping people over to Fresno, what type of policies would you want to see to help people either stay in Coalinga and deal with the problem there?
So what I would like to see, and which I've done many times, is to ask the county to give us money, because that's where it's at. The feds get money to the state gives money to the county, and the county unfortunately doesn't give the money to Coalinga. We think we have probably about 100 homeless people in Coalinga. Well, I can understand when the county says we have thousands of homeless people in Fresno, why it doesn't make sense to give us, money in Coalinga. But they could fund some opportunities and some programs like Workforce Connection, which has been successful in the past. But we need a lot more programs like that and a lot more opportunities. And it's really going to have to be pressure put on by local governments, bounding together Coalinga, Avenel, Huron, Fresno, Hanford. All the towns in our area are going to have to bound together and say this is unacceptable, and we're going to have to get some real solutions.
What type of local policies do you want to implement to deal with public safety?
So, public safety. We have a lot of problems with gangs in Coalinga, for instance. We have a lot of easy things to fix, like street lights. When you have lighting issues around town, that's where people like to go and congregate to do things that are bad. We need technology. We've seen that police officers can't be everywhere at one time. And unfortunately, we have a problem with getting people to want to be police officers nowadays, since it seems like everyone is against them. And so what I would do is, we were at like 15 officers when we unfortunately had to make cuts. And so now with the measures that we put into place, we're up to around 22. And so I would say we need to pay them more. We need to get more. And then the other thing we need to do is we need technology to fight crime. So in high crime areas, we need to put cameras up. It's been successful. It's a preventative measure. I know it sounds, kind of bad, like, hey, you're picking on certain people. And of course, that's what they're going to say, but, we got to do something in order to stop the crime from occurring. And if you put cameras up, which we have in Coalinga, we put cameras in areas, and that has allowed people to be held responsible.
Thank you very much, Nathan.
Thank you for the candidates, and I want to say thank you to two other people, Keen Enrique, who asked the questions, Martha Kolstad, who wrote the questions, and our excellent timer, Lauren Russell.